The clock is always ticking, but are we truly living? We scroll, we binge, we wait, day in, day out. But what if we could break free to love more, to learn more, and truly live more? Seneca, a mind centuries ahead, yet so relevant today, guides us on how to reclaim the time we feel we've lost. Join us as we delve deep into the wisdom of Stoicism, unlocking the secrets to a life well lived, a life that is truly ours to own. Most of mankind, Paulinus, complains about nature's meanness because our allotted span of life is so short, and because this stretch of time that is given to us runs its course so quickly, so rapidly, so much so that with very few exceptions, life leaves the rest of us in the lurch just when we are getting ready to live. Seneca continues to advise his friend and says, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Life is long enough, and it's been given to us in generous measure for accomplishing the greatest things, if the whole of it is well invested. But when life is squandered through soft and careless living, and when it's spent on no worthwhile pursuit, death finally presses, and we realize that the life which we didn't notice passing has passed away." The first time I read this quote, I literally got goosebumps, and I realized that I've been wasting a lot of my life. So if we want to make the most of our lives, there's one thing I found, and it's called the 80-20 rule. An Italian man discovered that 20% of the population in Italy at that time owned 80% of the real estate. And so in our lives, 20% of the things that we do bring us 80% of the rewards. I like trading stocks, and I found that 20% of my portfolio brings 80% of my returns. And I started thinking to myself, what if I just poured my money into the strongest stocks? Isn't that going to bring me the greatest results? Same thing with friends. I realized that 20% of my friends bring 80% of my happiness. I'm a computer engineer, and the fact is that 20% of my skills are what bring me 80% of my income. So understanding this, we know that life is short. And the good thing is that 20% of the things that we do bring 80% of the result. So if we focus on those and then not leave the other ones out, but at least just be good enough in those, we are bound to make great returns. The other 80%, most of the time it's useless or is not as important. And Seneca warns us about this. He warns us about aimless pursuits. And if we stop aiming for these aimless pursuits, then we shall start living. Because a lot of people think that since they're growing older, that they've lived longer. That is not living. If you went from your 20s to your 30s and you spent the whole time in anxiety or fear, you are not living really. You are just existing for those 10 years. So we must learn how to live and not just to exist. And that leads us to the next quote by Seneca. So it is, the life we're given isn't short, but we make it so. We are not ill provided, but we are wasteful of life. Just as impressive and princely wealth is squandered in an instant when it's passed onto the hands of a poor manager, but wealth, however modest, grows through careful deployment if it is entrusted to a responsible guardian. Now, if you have money and you're trying to take it to different hedge funds so that you can grow money for your retirement, or maybe you're in retirement and you just don't want to lose your money, where are you going to take it to? The manager who has not shown great returns in the last 5 years, or do you want to put it in the hands of someone like Bill Gates, who has been showing an average of 20% for the last 50 years? I'm not even sure if it's 50, but you guys get what I'm saying. In that way, we should also think about life like that. Let us be like those great wealth managers. A great wealth manager, even if he's given a little portion of money, he's going to grow it. Of course, it might be very hard to turn $1 into $1 million, but he's going to do something with that $1 and he's going to turn it into something. But if you give a careless money manager even $1 billion, he's going to lose all of it. We've seen a lot of stories about people that have lost all of their fortunes. Good examples are NBA players who earned $300 million and they lost all of it. Now, I know a lot of people look at them and they're like, oh, how could you do that? But what those people don't realize is that we do the same thing. The only difference is that maybe for us, our faults are not very visible. Money is something we can see, but time is not something we can easily see. So we do not easily judge ourselves. And another thing I realized is that people are very quick to blame because sometimes it's a deflection from seeing our own vices. But we really need to look deep into our lives and see how we are squandering them and then move forward. This is what has worked for me in the past to really do well in life. So now that we know the 80-20 principle, The good thing is that only 20% of the things bring 80% of the returns. So what we want to do is focus on those things. And I figured that in my life, my most important things are relationships, health, both mental health, that's why I'm trying to teach you Stoicism, and physical health, so go and work out. And the third is money, because come on, I don't want to suffer. This world is hard as it is. I'm living in Canada, the rental prices are high. And of course, if I have little money, my mental health is going to be really harder to achieve than if I had more money. Stoicism teaches that money is an indifferent, and that is true, but without it, it's a bit harder. Now that you know the 20% of things that you need to focus on, then the next thing is to build those skills. Now in relationships are not easy. If you're a single guy and you're into girls, for example, then you need to have a good relationship with a girl. And this is not an easy thing. You need to build these skills because these are in your 20%. And also in those skills like having a great relationship with a girl, then there's also another 20% that is the most important. Same thing with health, mental health, and physical health. There's also 20% that you can focus on. Now that we know that, one thing I've learned is don't cheat the system. Learn the skills. If they're really important, it's really important that you learn them and have them at your fingertips. And don't do cram work. Cram work is only for the other 80% of the things. Those ones you can do cram work on because in your grand scheme of life, those are not really important. Now you need to develop a plan on how to learn all of those skills, or if you already have the skills, how to use them to leverage your life. One thing you can do is learning about atomic habits. Now, atomic habits are little things that you can do every day to move you forward in your life. And the way I apply it in my life is that every week on Sunday, I just look at my life plans and I see what do I have to do that week to move forward in these sectors, right? For example, if it's mental health, I might know that, okay, I need to read maybe 20 pages of books every day just to get my mind up. I also need to be journaling a certain amount a week. Now, the fact is that I don't always finish these things, but I feel like I managed to do an engineering degree, win awards, play sports, make friends, just even by doing just half of those things. And of course, don't just stop at atomic habits. If you're someone like Usain Bolt, you can just be running maybe just 100 meters a day and be like, oh, that's my atomic habit. I'm going to become the greatest sprinter. That moves us into something called elastic habits. If you want to become a writer, maybe your atomic habit might be writing 100 words per day. Writing 100 words is not going to turn you into the next J.K. Rowling. Maybe you need to be writing 500 words a day. So you need to set an atomic habit of 100 words a day minimum. But when your day is going great, then you do 500. And if you're having a really spectacular day, then you can write 1,000 words per day. And if you write 1,000 words per day for a long period of time, you're going to become a great writer. Now, leading us to the last quote. So why do we complain about nature? It has acted generously. Life, if you know how to use it, is long. But one person is held in the grip of voracious avarice, another by the kind of diligence that busies itself with pointless enterprises. This one's sodden with wine, another is slack with idleness. This one's tired out by his political ambition, which always hangs on the judgment of others. Another's passionate desire for trading drives him headlong over land and sea in the hope of profit. Now, when Seneca talks about nature, he's talking about universal reason. Nature in Stoicism means universal reason. Sometimes they call it logos. The current Stoics leave out the universal reason, and that's because a lot of the world is atheist and doesn't believe in universal reason. Universal reason just means that the world has a rational intelligence, and all human beings have a part of that intelligence. So when Stoics say that you have God in you, because they use the word God to refer to universal reason, they use the word because they want to sound normal, the way Christians and Muslims might be using different names for God. So they just use God as like a metaphor for universal reason. You get it. So when they say you have a piece of God in you, that means you have a piece of that universal reason in you, and that is why you have ability to think and discern what's good and bad as a human, unlike other animals. The wise man or woman knows that he is in a play. Life is a play. Seneca likes to use this term of a play. He knows that he's in a play and it doesn't assent to his costume. So if you've been given $1 million by nature, don't forget about your virtues, because that's who you are. That $1 million is an external. It's good to have, but it doesn't decide you as a person, because we've seen people with $1 million who suffer because now they're all stressed out. But if it goes, they're scared of losing it, they're scared of thieves, and now they're just not happy. Also, there are people who don't have it and they're also not happy. So you can see that character plays a huge role in how we enjoy the externals. Actually, I would say character determines how we enjoy any external thing. And if the movie director is done with him, he leaves the play, right? Because he's been put in the play. He's not the movie director. He's been put in the play, takes whatever role is given. And of course, a good actor will play whatever role he's given very well. Now, in addition to this quote, Seneca talks about vices. Now, this is a very tough topic for many of us, particularly me. I realize that it is very easy for me to make these videos, write these quotes, but overcoming vices, that is a very difficult thing. And we have to do this if we're going to live well. And also overcoming vices is difficult. Sometimes people just hide and then they don't want to see their vices. And that is just a human nature of things. We don't want to see that we're bad. And also I have psychology videos where I talk about how we lie to ourselves. We have to be truthful to ourselves to get over these vices. So we have to get over our vices because our vices stop us from doing that 20% that we talked about. Wow, what a journey we've embarked on today. I'm eager to hear from you and what you resonated with the most in today's discussion. Are there any personal insights or experiences you'd like to share? Please continue this conversation in the comment section below. And also, if you found this content very valuable, subscribe to the channel where we'll be unraveling more old age wisdom and navigating these modern times together. Your support means the world and will help this foundation of wisdom flowing. Before we end, I would like to share that the insights today were from Seneca's book on the shortness of life. Remember that life is long if you know how to use it. And until we meet again, take care and keep seeking wisdom.